And if you just want to talk, I have an idea for an episode um, that was about a dream I had, a couple of dreams that I had that maybe could lead to a conversation. And that's why I've chosen this background uh, in case we did
It's like
discuss
a
this topic.
TARDIS, an
Yes,
octagonal
It's
TARDIS.
kind of a Buddhist version. It's like a Buddha Bodhisattva version of the TARDIS. Yes, which involves my the dream that I had. Anyway, so yeah, so we might as well talk about that then if you want to just do a talking
Sure.
session. There's that because well, the reason I wanted to discuss this because I had another similar dream to these other dreams that I had that were kind of bodhisattva kind of related. But this one that I had last evening was quite disturbing um, because well, all right, I'll tell you the nature of these dreams that I've had. Um, these Dharma dreams, well, I call them, where I was kind of um, almost like a third person in the dream. I wasn't an active part of whatever
Like
was
an
going on.
observer.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
an observer. Yeah. And would be going, to and fro to different worlds and different places and, um, kind of almost, Doctor Who style. There'd be this kind of flash of almost like I'm going through a portal, but not really, but just all these worlds passing through, and I'd go shift and go to another world. And so one of the worlds there was these kind of almost zombie-like creatures, humans, kind of, milling about and doing their thing. And so that was kind of, I was aware that was kind of late stage Mappo kind of, humans doing their thing, warlike, zombie-like, childlike mentality. And then I shifted and it went to this other amazing world. The opposite kind of that was I got the impression that it was a very high point in an ascending kalpa. Okay, so very high level of civilization, very high level of people being virtuous and healthy and living long. And do you know what I mean? And there was quite this harmony of everything, of technology and people and, you know, and the world and things. But still beings obviously suffering and in need of help. So I got that. And then, there was another world where it was more like the world we live in, just, you know, maybe not quite. It was it was a bit, say, 20 years prior kind of type of world where there wasn't everything going on in the world there is right now. Um, but still, again, people suffering, etc. And then I got the impression I went to kind of uh, almost like a cloud city type of environment. So I was kind of aware that would be kind of possibly the northern quarter, the northern, quadrant of some, of the Saha world, with the Yaksha civilization, um, and that sort of thing. And that I was aware that there were these, you know, beings down below on these planets that were living quite idyllically, but and living in perfect harmonious virtue, but they had no Buddha. They had no, and I've talked about that before. So that one's, I wasn't too surprised I had dreamed about that that particular world. And then so that was either one dream or a couple of dreams that I had in one night. And before I tell you this last one, so I'll tell you. So the mind state of me, the mindset of me, of this kind of third party, traveling to these worlds as an observer almost, was, and not involved in the action, but just kind of just kind of on the, not really on the outside looking in, but just kind of able to just kind of come into the almost to like come into the reality and just be there, but not no one was aware I was there, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this sense of this really deep compassion, really, really deep compassion, but I was kind of like dispassionate about it. Like I could, like I had this sense of the people that were suffering in each of these worlds and scenarios, but I wasn't involved. I wasn't feeling like I would as me. As me, I would feel like, oh, my heart, would be going out, or I'd just be feeling, oh, that's horrible for that. You know what I mean? I have a sense of the horribleness of
Mm-hmm.
someone suffering, or do you know what I mean? But I had this kind of really deep. It was this weird thing. Like I was really deep compassion, and yet wasn't, you know, but wasn't involved in it and wasn't having an emotional response to that sort of suffering. And then but I also had the sense that I intuitively understood what was happening in each of these worlds and how I could be helpful. And somehow in my mind, I was helping. Now, in some
Mm-hmm.
inconceivable way that I could not ever describe as a me, that was happening. Do you see what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, so this is what happened in a couple of dreams. And this other dream I just had last night was a similar thing, but I was actually had gone to one of the hell worlds, and it was all I will say, just to keep from, I won't, it was quite horrible. I was very disturbed. I've been disturbed kind of all day, just remembering the dream. But as the day's gone on, I've been a bit, it's a bit less of an impact. But it was quite harrowing when I woke up. But in the dream, it was that same deep compassion for this being that was, I'll just say they were being stretched. So it was either the iron bed hell
Yeah.
or the Avicii hell where they stretch you like a hide kind of thing. Isn't that in the Avicii hell? They stretch you out like a hide or
I am
something.
not sure.
Anyway,
Yeah, I would have to.
anyway,
There's a
something
lot of
I know there's a couple
yeah.
of, I was trying to look it up a bit and read about it, but after this, after this dream, just like the other, anyway,
Uh-huh.
so um, but I had that same experience where I just felt this deep compassion for this being that this was happening to, but was a dispassioned, you know what I mean? I wasn't wrapped up in it. I wasn't feeling like, oh, the way I felt like when I woke up as me, just really disturbed, and that was horrible that that was happening to this, to this being, and do you know what I mean? But it gave me a real, because I've read through a lot of the descriptions of a lot of, if not all of the documented hell worlds in Buddhism. Let's just say I've read compilations of descriptions of, you know what I mean, the different
Yeah.
hells and the different
Ojo Yoshu.
compartments. Yeah, and it's harrowing to read, but I felt like I needed to do it, as part of my Dharma, reading Dharma activities. Anyway, that was a while ago. That was a few years back actually when I did that,
Mm-hmm.
3 or 4 years ago. And anyway, uh, so yeah, I just kind of wanted to discuss talk about it because this one was kind of disturbing to wake up
Mm.
from. But at the same
Yeah,
time, I
I
was
can
like, oh, that's
imagine.
similar to this kind of Doctor Who Bodhisattva, traveling to these different worlds, acting like,
Yeah.
and it was almost like I was given a glimpse of, a foretaste of when after, being born in the Pure Land and immediately returning to help, all beings as a Buddha
Mm.
Bodhisattva. Is almost That's kind of what I feel like I've been given a little tiny glimpse of in some Sambhogakaya way to just that my brain can understand. Do you see what I mean? As a bamboo kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, or it could just be my imagination, or how dreams work and the role of dreams in Buddhism and all of that, keeping all of that in mind. But that's kind of how I feel about it. So anyway, I don't know if there's a kind of topic that you want to glean from that
Yeah.
or cover
I,
from there. But that's what's
yeah.
inspired this this Buddhist version of the TARDIS, kind of, traveling with apparently with Vimana support from the Dewas, with the floating flying Vimanas. Anyway, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it certainly is a cool dream. It's interesting, I thought. I wish I had dreams like that. I don't usually. I have never been much of a dreamer. I do occasionally. I'll have dreams, but it's like I'll have a dream about my ex. Not Buddhist
Related. Yeah.
mythology. So I thought that's cool. But anyway, so yeah, I mean,
We could talk about role of bodhisattva. We could talk about,
yeah.
the transference of merit for going forth and transference of merit for going for return. We could talk about
Yeah. The interesting thing about the Bodhisattva one is, it kind of did remind me of the, I think, I'm kind of trying to look for it. Yeah, there's the vow that Shinron takes as being the one that sort of epitomizes working the Bodhisattva, is all. Let's try to find the vow. Actually, I think that would be the way.
Sorry, which vow again? Which are you going to find it? And
yeah, let me look. I think it's in.
Or which text, I should say.
Let's see. Okay, that's the one on the. Of course, the vow on the necessary attainment of nirvana, right? And that is in the, I think, fourth or fifth chapter of Shinjo. But there's also a vow, I think I'm going to have to find the word sutra, but it's the vow of about bodhisattvas who choose to return to this world to fulfill their original vow, as it says. Let me see if I can bring the Lord Sutra.
I'm just having a look to see if I can find what you're.
Yeah, it's
finding as well. We are unscripted, unrehearsed, teleprompter free here at the Shakugan Guide channel.
Yeah,
so
I think
taking a little pause intermission to find. Yeah, I found. I think no, that's the.
I do not remember the number. So
is it the 11th vow?
Yeah, that is. Here it is. I found it. It's the 22nd.
22nd. Okay. 22nd. Have you want to share? Have you found
yeah, sure.
Document here? Yep. You can go ahead and share then, please.
Okay. Go. And here we go. Okay.
There we go. Yes. I can see. We can see.
So, first of all, the one that you were mentioning is the 11th vow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If when I attain Buddhahood, humans and devas in my land should not dwell in the definitely assured stage, and unfailing nirvana. May I not attain
So that's definitely related to bodhisattva because of the stage of non-retrogression
right.
being.
And yeah, the shoujoju, right? So dwelling in the definitely assured stage or settled stage. And then unfailing nirvana. So this is
Which
realization.
I've been studying and reading about in the chapter on practice more recently. And there's things in another video I want to talk to about that.
Yeah.
Because there was some major aha or not really bomb, but just boom kind of moments when I was going through that. Anyway, yeah. So go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is interesting because of course we know that people of Shinji do in fact dwell in the definitely assured stage here and now in the spirit life. And the vow states, humans and devas in my land. Kokuchu. Kokuchu Ninden. Koku is country, Chu means in, and then Ninden is humans and gods, humans and divine beings, or devas. And so Kokuchu is interesting because it implies that those who dwell in the definitely assured stage are already in the Pure Land. And then this is, of course, traditionally, or not traditionally, but in older, like Chinese Buddhism or Chinese Pure Land schools, this would be interpreted as something that would occur once you were born in this Pure Land. So you could never, and birth in the Pure Land, of course, was equated with the moment of death. So you could never dwell necessarily in the definitely assured stage until you died in the Pure Land, right? According to some thought ideas about the Pure Land. But Shinran is basing Dodo Shinshu on the seven masters. So Nagarjuna, Vasubandhu, Shantao, and Donron, especially Donron. And so the moment of entering the definitely assured stage occurs in this life, here and now, with the settling of Shinji, which Shinran says is the meaning of being born in the Pure Land. He says in many places, actually, like the Yuishin Shou Mon, so the commentary on Essentials of Faith alone. He says the meaning of birth and the fear of immediately be born. Sokutoku Ojo, as the larger sister says, they shall immediately be born and dwell in the stage of non-retrogression. And so Shinran interprets the immediately be born as entering into the definitely assured stage.
Yeah.
Here and now.
Here and now.
And then, so that also means unfailingly reach nirvana. This could mean some Chinese thinkers in Shantao's time argued that even if someone was born in the Pure Land, they wouldn't necessarily reach nirvana. They said that the Pure Land of a meeting was kind of like a lower level Pure Land, and saying that people would reach nirvana through being born there was just an expedient means. What it really meant was people would become bodhisattvas and then they would practice for many, many kalpas. They would practice the Shodamon essentially in the Pure Land as bodhisattva. And then long in the future, eventually they would become a Buddha. But of course, in Shinshu, Shantao, Zendo Daishi, Master Shantao, argued against that idea and said that no, Pure Land is actually the realm of nirvana itself, and those who are born there do, in fact, reach nirvana. And for Shinron, since we are already dwelling in the definitely assured stage, the unfailingly reach nirvana, the moment when we reach nirvana is actually the moment of our, you know, departure from this world, right? The moment when our karmic ties to this particular lifetime run out. So this is actually the end of life, right? Is when we unfailingly reach nirvana. So it's a radical, not radical, but I don't really like using that word, but it's a very different, you know, emphasis and interpretation than, say, some other, you know, Pure Land schools or philosophies or ideas, right? Especially some of the modern Chinese ones take kind of a literal reading or rereading of various texts and sutras and try to kind of, you know, come up with this idea of a Pure Land philosophy. But you know, these ideas are coming to us from as far back as Nagarjuna. He says those who say the name, those who say his name immediately enter into the stage of non-retrogression in this life.
Yes. Yes.
And that's coming from Nagarjuna. So some schools don't have Vasubandhu, don't have Nagarjuna, don't have Lonron. I think the modern pure Chinese version of the Pure Land school, the first patriarch is actually Shantao. So they don't have Donron and Vasubandhu and Nagarjuna as part of their, you know. So the question as to why some Pure Land philosophies and schools teach things that are so different from Jodo Shinshu, the answer to that is because they're looking at different sources, and they're not
availability
incorporating
sources,
over ideas
historically. Speaking.
They're not,
and also there's different karmic causes and conditions of every situation and every that would go into all of that, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah.
As well, ultimately.
And so, you know, in Shinron of course relies on Honan and Shantao, but he also brings in Vasubandhu. He brings in Nagarjuna, and he brings in especially a lot from Donron. And so Tanwan, the English transliteration of his name in Chinese. And so those, you know, to understand Jodo Shinshu, you really have to go back and you have to understand those, you know, the seven patriarchs. And then on top of that, you have to understand Shinron's reading of those texts.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's about the 11th hour.
The other thing I thought of just came to mind too was about why different schools of Buddhism in general, but also specifically why there's different Pure Land school lineages, and why they have what they have in there is because it's always, I think, with the Dharma masters and the development of Buddhism, wherever it went, how it naturally progressed or evolved it's always in keeping with times and with beings and with the culture that it's in and with their karmic causes and conditions and needs. And do you see what I mean? It's always in accord with that, which is I think another reason why why the different schools have developed, Buddhism in general, but also Pure Land Buddhist schools.
Yeah, and also in China, you know, up until 20th century, Pure Land was never distinct. It's never a separate school, right? It was always, it was like Zen. It was a gate but not a
Mm-hmm.
school of its own.
Mm-hmm.
It was only Honen Shonin who declared
Mm-hmm.
Jodo Shu, right? You know, a Pure Land school
Cool.
separate from the context of
Within a
Tendai
gate within
or some other,
a school.
yeah.
A gate within a school.
So
It's a school unto itself.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that was Honen. So but and you know, in Shantao's time, you know, part of the reason he wrote the commentary on the Contemplation Sutra is to refute some of the self-power school interpretations of Pure Land teachings, you know, because they were saying things like, well, there's no way ordinary unenlightened person can be born into a fulfilled land, a fulfilled Pure Land, what's it called, Hodo, right? What they're born into must be a transformed land, a lesser Pure Land, you know. The Hodo, the true fulfilled land, is too subtle, too beyond what the capability of an ordinary person. And Shantao said, no, that's not correct. Through the power of Amita's vow, ordinary people can in fact be born into the fulfilled Hodo Pure Land. So a lot of, you know, that's what the commentary that he wrote primarily about, is defending Pure Land's interpretations of teaching from, you know, Zen and Shodomon, you know, self-power, path of sages, people, scholars who were saying something else, you know.
Hmm.
Anyway, fascinating history of ideas and the
Yeah.
evolution.
Just before we move off from this, just to say, you know, the amazing thing that, you know, that through Amita's power is given that stage of joy, the you know the stage of non-retrogression. Yeah, I think it's in some framings of it, that's like an eighth stage. That's what an eighth stage bodhisattva reaches. You know,
yeah,
before the final, you know, eighth, ninth, and 10th stage. That's or something like that. It's like
yeah.
that's a very advanced stage of bodhisattva, and Amida gives us that in with the arising and settling of Shinjin
Mm-hmm.
through
Yeah, and
his
that's a
vow power,
whole,
through his working,
yeah, that's a
which
whole
is
Dharma conversation in and of
mind blowing.
itself,
Yeah,
right?
exactly, exactly. It's I think it's important to
Yeah,
say and note it,
yeah.
out loud, and just be grateful for that. It just, that one always blows my mind whenever I think of it. Whenever I just,
Mm-hmm.
it just really strikes me as
So I thought for fun we could look
yeah.
at the original
Okay.
text of the vow.
All right.
So, Setsu ga tokubutsu, kokuchu ninden, fu, fuju joju, hishi metsudosha, fushu shogaku. So, Tatoya ware futsu en ni kuni no uchi no ninden, joju ni jushi kanarazu metsudo ni ikarazu wa shogaku o torari. So, if when I become a Buddha, the humans and heavenly beings, so this is the character for human, Hin is the character for heaven, so Ninden just means humans and, gods or whatever, devas in Indian mythology, right? Kuni no uchi, koku chu, so the humans and divine beings in my country should not joju ni juji, so should not certainly dwell in the stage of settlement, the stage of non-retrogression, joju. Metsudo ni itarazu, so should not reach. Metsudo is sometimes translated as see, in fact.
while you're looking that up, can I just say something really quick
Sure,
about
sure.
this too? With the stage of non-retrogression, I feel like it strikes me that uh, it's almost like uh, when you're brought to that stage of non-retrogression, that the whole beings in my land. It's almost like in this life you've been given the visa by you've been granted the visa by Amida Buddha to come into his land, but you're not there yet. But you've been sent the visa. You've been granted the visa. You're a full citizen. You've been granted full citizenship, or and the visa, and you're just not there yet. You haven't been moved there yet.
Yeah,
To
but
that
see,
to that
I don't think
is that
that goes
is that
far
a
enough
no?
because we are there. Humans and devas in my land
Mm.
should not dwell in the definitely assured stage. So
In the sense,
in
would that be through the
real sense,
yeah?
it's like Conan says,
Well, we're given the
not
mind of
that,
Amida, aren't we? We're given
yeah, and it's
so
like
even though
Conan
we're
says,
Bambu, we still have the mind of the Buddha. So in some sense, in that sense, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Good.
well, yeah, and it's like Conan says, the hearts and minds of people of the Nimbutsu always dwell in the Pure Land.
Hmm. Yeah.
What does that mean? What does
In
that
some
mean to you?
inconceivable way. It's just it sounds
Well,
like
yeah, and we
it's
can,
part
of
of
course,
Shinjin.
in some
It's
inconceivable way,
yeah.
but
In part as
it
part of
says
Shinjin. Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
and
It
in
does.
the
Yeah.
typically,
So well, if you think of Shinjin as the true reality,
yeah,
then you're already
exactly,
there. If you're
yeah,
in Shinjin, if Shinjin has settled and arisen and settled, then
yeah,
you're in the true reality in some sense. You're just still here.
yeah,
You still have to finish
right.
out this
But
life.
there's a fly on my a small visitor from
Ah,
the.
from the animal and insect realm. Yes.
Don't worry, I didn't
They do
swat it.
like the screens. They do like the
Yeah.
computer screens. Anyway,
Um. So yeah.
they're
So
taking in the Dharma.
I don't
That's in some
know.
way. They're taking in the Dharma in some way. They had the good karmic causes to come into this conversation just now. Anyway, sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
It says even the insects
Yeah,
that are
even
touched by Anita's light
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
realize joy. I love that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Shoes.
Now,
um,
shoo.
anyway, now get away.
You've just encountered
um,
bamboo. We're still bamboo. Yeah. So anyway, yeah.
uh, yeah.
So please continue with your thought.
So my opinion, my feeling, my thought, and this is the great thing about Buddhism and especially the Shinshu is we can think and reflect and discuss these topics and ideas together. Right?
Mm.
We're not. There's no right. There's nobody is 100% right, and nobody is
Yeah,
everybody else is wrong. Right?
we can
So
discuss it freely,
yeah,
broadly,
and
freely, in a big tent way.
yeah, and my feeling is that simply saying that it's like we have a ticket or a
Yeah,
visa, but we're not there yet is somehow not sufficient to communicate
Shinjin,
what what is
non-retrogression. Yeah,
being
yeah.
it's not
It doesn't.
because
No, it
we're
doesn't. It really doesn't.
already
Yeah.
it's more like
I
I
think I
would
was
say
kind of getting at the full citizenship. Like
mm,
you are a
yeah
citizen. You are a citizen of Pure Land. You're a
yeah
full with all the privileges and you know thereof. You get
yeah
some of the benefits now.
and
You get some of the benefits now, and then more benefits later.
yeah. And
Anyway,
the truth is that, Conan says our hearts and minds always, in short, always dwell in.
yeah, yep.
So And
So we are,
now,
yeah,
we can't dismiss that as just a poetic,
no, I agree,
statement. That's
agree.
what he's saying. He's
Yeah,
not being, like
yeah.
a lot of
Not,
people try to do
not being
that and like,
flowery or
yeah,
he's
say,
not,
well, that's just poetic. It kind of reminds me of how like certain, like fundamentalists and such read the Bible, and it's like they explain away things that they don't agree
yes,
with or don't like
yes,
by saying, oh,
exactly,
this is just, poetic, or this is, you know,
exactly.
Jesus said this, but he didn't really mean that. He meant something
Yeah,
else, and all of this kind of thing.
exactly.
So we have to be careful of that kind of,
Approach.
dismissing the meaning by
Yeah.
saying, well, that's very nice. But the truth is that it's very rare that Shinron and Honan and Rinyo, when they are talking, they talk in concrete, real terms. They
Mm,
very rarely use like, poetic
hmm.
or that kind of language. They're really speaking about these things as reality. So we
Mm,
have to be serious when
exactly.
I think we have to
I,
we
I'd
have to
say,
take them seriously.
yeah, agreed, agreed. I think I don't, when I read Shinron or Renyo or Honen, I never
Mm.
feel like, oh, they're just making it sound good, or they're just like, I always feel like
Yeah.
every single word is chosen on purpose. Is just, you see what I mean? Every
Yeah.
single um meaning is there to be conveyed
Yeah.
through that whatever language they used
Yeah.
to express it. It was never just, well, this is just to
Right.
sound good,
Yeah.
or to kind of be filler, or I don't
Yeah.
ever, do you know what I mean? Where other, or some kind of right,
Yeah.
I don't know, poetic
Yeah.
technique or something. Anyway, yeah, just yeah.
Yeah. And I remember I was having a conversation with Kobai Sensei at his house in Osaka. We're going to run out of time,
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
but we were discussing, should we
Do a new
call
session?
back
Yeah.
or
All right. Yeah. So
you
yeah,
could?
quickly.
You could. Okay,
Okay. If you
continue.
have
So
time, yeah. Now
yeah.
I'll see you in about 10.
Namu,
Namo Amida
Namu
Butsu.
Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namando. Namo. All right. See you in a bit.
All right, see ya.